Clones, baby. They're like this close to being broken in Galaxy of Heroes. And what I want to talk about today is clones from a perspective of Grand Arena, because Grand Arena is restarting as we're speaking right now. And people want to know, what teams can the clones beat and what teams can beat the clones? And answering that latter question, not too many. And the reason why it's so hard to find counters to the clones right now is because of this. Let me show you. We're gonna hop over to my main account just for a second. I want to show you something. Right here is probably one of the fastest Darth Revans I think that exists in the world. It has to be one of the fastest in the world. 350 speed. But watch this. Let me go put in my clones. If you saw the other day, I showed you that Shaak Ti and clones with Anakin Skywalker can beat Darth Revan and Darth Malak. It's a tricky battle. It's not always going to work, but it's possible. So look at this. We're at 318 speed with Captain Rex on my main account right now. Obviously, that is very short from 350 speed of a Darth Revan. But watch this. Because of that Shaak Ti leadership, this is the team I'm going to be showing for most of the battles. This is not the Darth Revan Darth Malak counter, although this can beat Darth Revan alone. I just want to demonstrate how fast this team is, because this is the team we're going to see for most of our analysis, and this is probably the team that's going to be the best for clones because it doesn't pull away from too many teams. Look at that. My Captain Rex, who is severely slower than a 350 speed Darth Revan, gets to go first. And in turn, the AI does this just as well. They're always going to spam this ability first, granting a ton of turn meter, which basically allows this whole entire team to go first before any other team out there. And this is where I want to start my video off today, because this is crucial. So mod Captain Rex for as fast as you possibly can. Make sure Shaak Ti's in the leadership, and most likely Captain Rex is going to outrun almost every single team that's going to come at it in Grand Arena. So with that little demonstration out there, let's start showing the clones in action, because this is dangerously close to Kyber territory. And at the end of the video, I'm going to leave a poll. I want you guys to let me know where the 501st clones with Shaak Ti should rank in Galaxy of Heroes. We love your input. I have an idea, but I want to see if we're both on the same page. So let's talk about what clones can beat. And basically, clones can beat almost every single team in the game. There are a couple teams that give it a hard time, but by and large, clones and the 501st can beat almost every single team, going all the way up to Darth Revan and Darth Malak. Of course, you're going to need Anakin Skywalker for that, which pulls away from Padme Amidala. But just thinking of clones without pulling away Anakin and Ahsoka Tano, they can beat basically every single team in the game. And again, it's all because of how fast Captain Rex becomes under the Shaak Ti lead, which in turn makes your whole entire team fast. There are so many battles we're going to see today. For example, bounty hunters and Imperial troopers. Even though I modded them as fast as I possibly could, Captain Rex jumped the gun, got tenacity up, got turn meter. Being able to get 100% turn meter for your whole team, as well as tenacity up at the beginning, and all this massive damage coming out, that's basically almost every single great thing you want in a team, and Captain Rex provides that for the Shaak Ti and their clone. We talked about Darth Revan and Darth Malak in a separate video. They can beat them with Anakin Skywalker, but moving down a bit in that Kyber branch, they can beat Darth Revan by himself without Malak. That is kind of crazy. A lot of people do not have the full Darth Malak team, and on defense and offense, Clones and Shaak Ti can give Darth Revan a hard time. Darth Revan can still win. That's going to be one of your counters, Darth Revan without Malak, but you got to be so careful. Luckily, the AI is not the smartest, and sometimes they're spamming against the wrong teams, but I highly recommend having Sith Marauder going up against the clone team, because he has massive damage, and you want to try to one-shot Shaak Ti as fast as possible, get her out of the picture, because her retribution she keeps feeding through her Zeta is extremely deadly when you're trying to go after these clones. Jedi Revenant has a pretty easy time. What you're going to want to try to do is mark Shaak Ti down, take her out as fast as possible, because if you mark someone else, another clone, Shaak Ti gets so much turn meter through her unique ability when other clones are being injured. Basically, one of your first goals is either taking out Shaak Ti or taking out 5s, because the 5 Zeta, we're going to talk about what Zetas are important for the clones in a second, but the 5 Zeta on tactical awareness is so dangerously deadly, where if you don't take out 5s first, or at least make sure you take them out sometime before you start taking out other 501st clones, the battle gets really messy and really deadly. So you want to try to take out Shaak Ti or 5s as fast as possible to really try to make sure you're putting down this team. So clones definitely could punch up in those top tier Kyber territory teams. But let's talk more about the Erodium tier, the second tier teams in the game. And in here, wow, clones play a very big part, and clones basically can beat almost every single tier 2 team, but there are 2 very important counters. Let's say maybe 3 very important counters, and those counters are going to be General Grievous Commander Luke Skywalker, as well as Night Sisters. Those three teams are going to be probably the teams you want to use to go up against a Shaak Ti and clone lineup. General Grievous is probably going to be the more prevalent one because that's the team people are building up, and it seems to be one of the more frequent and consistent ways to beat Shaak Ti and clones because of the constant buff dispelling from the B2 Super Battle Droid. And the buff community is so important because if you're not dispelling buffs fast enough or controlling all these buffs, you're just going to get mowed over, let me tell you. And of course, Grievous is massive damage, and the target lock, if you have the Zeta on the Grievous lead, the target lock is important to stop the retribution from coming right back at you. But I will say there were a few times where Grievous got close to losing. I never lost with Grievous up against clones, but there was quite a few times where it definitely got close. And if Captain Rex somehow is smart enough and uses aerial advantage on General Grievous at the right time, you're done for. So you got to make sure you take out Captain Rex fast enough, but not too fast, where Fives will sacrifice himself and feed all of his bonuses to the rest of the team. So you want to make sure you're controlling Captain Rex, or at least keeping Captain Rex distracted if he does get aerial advantage by having the Magna Guard taunt or a forced mark somewhere. Shaak Ti can also beat General Grievous, but again, this is one of those battles where they can win, but it's going to be a difficult and tricky battle. And really, it comes down to making sure Echo gets a lot of stuns, and that Captain Rex Zeta on his unique ability is important to making sure characters like Fives are taunting very frequently, or Echo getting more buff dispels out there as fast as possible, because he's basically reducing the cooldowns by half. And luckily, Echo can stun droids. So if you can get a lucky stun on the B2, you're good as gold. But if you don't stun B2, it's going to be a lot trickier of a battle. But still, Shaak Ti and clones could be General Grievous, but I'm just going to give you a warning. It could get a little tricky. Even the Nuke Gunray variant, where you pull out Droideka, put a Nuke Gunray, as I showed you guys in the past, that can still be beaten by Shaak Ti and the clones. But it's going to be trickier because now you have more debuffs chopping away at the health of your clones and Shaak Ti. But really, the way to make sure you stop the clones' madness, Han Solo. Han shoots first. Being able to stun Captain Rex at the very beginning is going to be so important. Yes, Shaak Ti will get some turn meter because you're hitting Captain Rex, and Shaak Ti will instead go first because you're going to hit Captain Rex twice, which in turn feeds about 40% turn meter to Shaak Ti. But being able to stop the cleanses from Captain Rex at the very beginning, the tenacity up, and the huge turn meter from Captain Rex to get their whole team going first is going to be important. They're going to give Commander Luke a hard time still. Don't get me wrong. Commander Luke will still have a hard time beating them, but if being able to stun Captain Rex will make Commander Luke win basically almost every single time. I never lost, but it gets close if you're not careful with Echo's AoE or the Clone Sergeant's AoE or just some of the massive damage just coming at you. Geonosians. Now, I've seen a lot of questions about Geonosians versus the clones, and this is kind of a balanced battle. Geonosians could beat clones, but man, plenty of times the clones will beat the Geonosians, and to get the most frequency to beating a Geonosian lineup, you're going to want to have as much AoE as possible. That's why I have Clone Sergeant and Echo, because Geonosians hate massive AoE abilities. So clones could beat Geonosians. I've had plenty of battles like that, but Geonosians could beat clones as well because they can keep regenerating a huge amount of health pool, keep assisting over and over again. But I can't give you the stamp of approval that this is going to be 100% counter every single time to take out clones. So make sure you're getting a massive health pool for your Geonosians and clones, or for your Geonosians. You want to make sure you get the Zetas, especially on the Brood Alpha. Get that minion showing up at the very beginning so he can soak up some of the initial onslaughts, especially the mass assist from Shaak Ti. Now, really, the one clear counter that does very well up against clones and Shaak Ti is going to be Padme Amidala lead with her fellow Galactic Republic, Ahsoka Tano, Anakin, and whatnot. There's so much protection up, so the survivability is good, and clones, they don't have too many ways to dispel all this protection. So eventually, they're going to punch you a few times, but Padme's going to come back around with all of her courage that she gave to her team and start one-shotting characters as she goes along. So Padme Amidala is fairly solid. Commander Luke Skywalker, Night Sister, sort of. Darth Revan without Malak, Darth Revan with Malak, Jedi Knight Revan. The list just kind of stops there at this point. And when we start looking at all these other teams out there, bounty hunters, first order, scoundrels, imperial troopers, clones, they just keep mowing them over. It's a massacre. It's literally watching Order 66 in front of your eyes, but it's against all these other poor factions that try. And Night Sisters are really the last thing I kind of want to talk about in terms of counters. And again, it's a tricky battle. If you have an AI that just happens to hit all the right beats, Night Sisters can lose. So if you're trying to figure out what can you bring against a Night Sister team, Clones they'll get some work done, but keep in mind as well, Night Sisters with them spamming stuns and plagues and reviving if using Mother Thousand League, Clones could struggle up against Night Sisters as well. It's kind of one of those Genosian things where the battle is kind of balanced on both sides, but Clones can beat Night Sisters can beat Clones as well, but you got to be careful. Clones do have it seems the slight advantage over Night Sisters because they're going to have massive damage, constant attacks coming out, and they're going to knock out those revives from Night Sister zombie really fast. And if they happen to take out Old Daka early, one of the battles I showed, I got a lot of revives from Old Daka. If you lose Old Daka early, it might not look too good for you then. And really, in terms of other counters we have in the game, the list kind of stops right about here. I mean, we're just using standard teams up against Shaak Ti and Clones, so maybe there's going to be some oddball teams out there, but really, it's tough to beat these guys. The one team that could also kind of do it, but I've lost so many times, Darth Traya and the Sith Trumpet. It's crazy that at one point what was a very dominant team, and it's still a hard character to get. Clones can whip Darth Traya's butt, even though they're attacking out of turn quite a lot. Doesn't seem to matter. There's so much damage coming out. There's so much AoEs happening where your team can fall apart really fast. I won about maybe 1 out of 5 battles with Darth Traya, Darth Sign, Darth Niles, and it's because I had Sith Trooper and Basilisk Shan Fallen. But do you really want to pull those two characters out to kind of beat a clone team? That's the trade if you got to face if you have Darth Revan and Darth Malak in your roster as well. I really was hoping this would work. I tried getting a really fast Jango and putting him in the lead because Jango gives a lot of extra speed to his fellow scoundrels. And even then, I'm showing you right now, even though we had the initial speed advantage, Captain Rex still went first because the hope was to apply burning and prevent bonus Terminator, but that wasn't enough. Captain Rex with Shaak Ti is one of the fastest teams in the game, and that's the problem, especially because it's acting like a Jedi Revenant where you start off with tenacity up. That's basically what's happening, which prevents teams like Palpatine from working. I tried getting Palpatine to work, but that early tenacity up in Terminator shuts down the Darth Vader train. I got it to kind of work sometime with Director Krennic and Death Trooper, but the hope is Director Krennic gets hit a lot, which means Death Trooper gets Terminator and can try to dispel, but Palpatine is not going to be a reliable counter, it seems like so far, at least with Empire up against these guys. So all in all, basically what I'm trying to say is that if you're going to put Clones on defense, or if you're going to have to go up against some Shaak Ti and Clones, you're probably going to have to dip into some sort of team within that Erodium and Kyber category. There doesn't seem to be a fun cheese like Jawas against Genosians or Darth Traya soloing with Darth Sion up against the Genosians. Doesn't seem to be anything that exists at this point. You're going to bring in a full, decent team to take out a fairly well-modded team. Again, I'm assuming this team you're going to go up against is going to have a fast Captain Rex. Captain Rex should be super fast, which is going to give you all the results you're seeing here today. And it's just so easy to get Captain Rex to go first, where almost none of these teams can outrun him except a very few of them. Clones are going to be one of those top tier teams, which I think it's going to definitely put them in at least the Erodium category. There's going to be a link in the top right hand corner. Let me know your votes so I can kind of have an idea what you guys think. But that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I basically just wanted to give you an overview on why this team is so good and how it's probably the fastest team on paper because of Captain Rex, ignoring characters that get to go first like Han Solo. This is one of the fastest teams in the game that has some of the highest damage output and some of the most hidden threats possible, such as the 5 Zeta on his unique, as well as the Captain Rex huge Annihilate on his aerial advantage. This is a very difficult team to beat, and the best thing is this team's probably going to get even better with probably more 501st characters down the road, or something with Anakin Skywalker to give some 501st synergy, and that might break this team into getting into that Kyber level for sure, because this team is already playing around with Darth Revan and Darth Malak. But that's gonna wrap it up for today, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you learned something and you're gonna get yourself mentally prepared for going up against these clones within these next few grand arenas. Like if you did enjoy it, comment down below on your thoughts, and be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And I'll talk to all of your lovely people in the next video. Peace out, everyone.
Party Richter, Party Richter. Down, 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 down. Party Richter, Party Richter. Son of a bitch. Party Richter, Party Richter. Down, down, down.